I'm going to make it very clear to you guys, and this is not me being a homer. I believe the Eagles are the best team in the NFL.
Well, this is a interesting Monday here on Good Morning NFC East. Tone DeShields the second. Once again, if you guys don't know me by now, my name is Jeff Kerr. And this is one of those Sundays where only one NFC East team played, and we will talk about them. We will talk about the Washington Commanders in a second. But because the Eagles are 8-0, this was a good week to kind of gouge the Super Bowl competition, right? In your conference and outside the conference. And I know we keep talking about the hypothetical. Are the Eagles better than the Chiefs? Are the Eagles better than the Bills? I think if you're an Eagles fan on this Monday morning, halfway through the season, we are halfway through the season, by the way, you can say with conviction the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. Tone, I'm going to leave the floor to you because you had a pretty spicy – I don't even want to call it spicy, Tone, because I don't think it's spicy. But an interesting take on the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, man. And first things first, like my man said, good morning, you guys. This is Good Morning NFC East. Really excited to be here as always, but for another Monday. Now, I want to take this time to really think about the top-tier teams in the NFL, because when it comes to these top-tier teams in the NFL, we're not comparing them to the lowly teams. We're not comparing them to the Jags. We're not comparing them to the Patriots. We're not comparing them to any bad team you could probably think of, the Texans. We're not comparing the Chiefs or the Eagles or the Bills or potentially the Cowboys or San Francisco 49ers. We're not comparing them to other teams. We're only comparing them to the top of the top, the best of the best, right? So I'm going to make it very clear to you guys, and this is not me being a homer. I believe the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. They are the best team in the NFL. I know a lot of you guys want to look at the quarterback position and say, hey, what about Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes? They got the best quarterback, so that makes them the best team in the NFL. I don't think so. Because what we saw this past Sunday was two of the best teams in the NFL with very significant flaws that can haunt you in the long run. Let's start with the Eagles, right? The Eagles beat the Texans, but we already know, we already went through that. The Eagles have a very steady run game. They've shown that they can win in versatile ways, in many ways. They've shown that they can dismantle you in so many different ways. They're very opportunistic on defense. Again, a very reliable, very steady running game, and they have a formula. They have something that they stick to. And again, they have more than one punch. They have more than one pitch. They have something to go to if the fastball isn't working. They have something to go to if the haymaker isn't working. Now we get to the Bills. The Bills, like my man Jeff said in the pre-show meeting, the Bills, when it comes to close games of one score or less, they are 2-7 in one-score games. And that is huge because that's what you're going to really be dealing with when you get into the playoffs. And again, we're comparing the Bills not to the Jaguars. We're not comparing the Bills to the Raiders or the Broncos. We're not comparing them to bad teams. We're comparing them to the best of the best. So again, you think about the Eagles, they have more than one pitch. They have a curveball to go to if the fastball isn't working. They have a changeup. They even have an eephus pitch. They have a jab. They have a hook. They have an uppercut. They rely more on just the haymaker. The Eagles have won close games. They've won grinded out games more than one time this season. Your Bills, not so much. And the Bills, they have a hell of a haymaker. A hell of a haymaker. If they hit you, the Bills are like the Deontay Wilder or the Mike Tyson of the NFL. They have a hell of a haymaker. They will knock you out if you get caught slipping. But if you don't, and if you can stand the rain, if you can weather the storm and keep it close, they become limited. They don't have a steady run game. They don't have a reliable running game. Let's really put it into perspective, Jeff. And I know I'm rambling, but I really want to drive this point home. I know the Bills are averaging over 100 yards right now rushing. But let's think about where it's really coming from. Josh Allen leads their team in rushing with 392 yards. Then Devin Singletary has 347. The next closest guy is 147 yards, and that's James Cook. Josh Allen accounts for 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. The team only had 6. Out of the rest of their running backs, 3 running backs, there's a grand total of 7 rushing touchdowns between 3 guys. Out of the rest of the team, let's put it this way, right? Well, I did my math wrong. I'm sorry. 4 rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen. The rest of the team, there's 2. There's 2. He's the running game. He's the passing game. He's the everything game for this team. They go as he goes. So without that steady running game, without that other pitch or that other punch to go to, that is a problem, especially in these close games, Jeff.
This is where I would be concerned about the Bills running game. You know what? I'm going to shift it from the Bills running game. Who the heck is the Bills' number 2 receiver? They're deep at receiver. We know who the Eagles' 2 is. It's Devonta Smith. People want
That's
to
a
get
good
on
point.
Devonta Smith.
I want to touch on that too.
Yeah, people want to get on Devonta Smith for whatever reason. Oh, he doesn't put up a physical. You know how valuable he is? I can tell you with conviction, Devonta Smith is the Bills' number 2. I mean, with the Eagles' number 2. The Bills' number 2, I want to say Gabe Davis, but he's more of a deep threat. He's not consistent. Isaiah McKenzie probably should be, but 3 targets yesterday. Khalil Shakir, I don't even think he got a target yesterday. So I'm thinking to myself, they might have an issue here because their pass game sputtered against a very, very, very good Jets secondary. Now, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed kind of tooted their horn a bit and said they're the best cornerback duo in the NFL yesterday after the game. I said, I think Darius Slay and James Bradbury would like a word, but they have every right to say that because of how good they've been this year. I mean, and you got to think about this. And you really want to compare, and again, we're doing apples oranges here in a way because the Eagles aren't going to play the Bills unless it's in Glenville.
Right. That's true. That's true.
But that's an elite cornerback duo Josh Allen and that offense faced yesterday. And they shut them down in that second half. They shut them down. What do you think? This is where the Eagles had the ultimate edge over anybody in this league. They got Darius Slay. They got James Bradbury. Just like the Bills have a huge edge at linebacker with Matt Milano and Tremaine Edwards. And you saw what happened yesterday when the Bills did not have Matt Milano. They got gashed in a lot of ways. If the Eagles lose Darius Slay or James Bradbury, it's going to be a major problem.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned it, right? Let's be honest. The Bills are the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs show. It's just that simple, right? Stephon Diggs, 83 targets on the season. The next closest guy is Gabe Davis, and that's 38 targets.
And he's missed games.
That's well over a 40 target disparity between the so-called number 2 wide receiver. They are very, very Josh Allen-centric, very Stephon Diggs-centric, but Stephon Diggs depends on Josh Allen to get him the ball. So you might as well say that they're very Josh Allen-centric. Again, we're comparing them to the best. We're not comparing them to the lowly teams. They're going to smack up on the poor teams in the AFC all year long. That's what they're going to do. But the Jets are rising. The Jets have a high quality win. They have a couple, as a matter of fact. So now you got to watch them. The AFC East has just gotten significantly more.
This is what I wanted to bring up to you, Tony. I don't want to interrupt you too much.
You're good.
Is the AFC East the best division now? Because all the teams are over 500.
It's a conversation. It's funny. The East Coast is the best coast, right? That's apparently what it looks like. The NFC East, they're doing their thing. The AFC East is doing their thing. And again, we're going to touch on Commanders because I think they definitely should have won that game. But the Vikings, they somehow managed to come back. But I think the Vikings are very limited as well. I just look at the rest of the teams at the top of the NFC, the teams at the top in the AFC. The Eagles are the most complete team in the NFL. They have the most pitches in the NFL. If you want to continue with the baseball analogy, Jeff. Like I said,
the Valdez of the NFC. Think about that.
If the fastball is not working for the Eagles, they have a changeup. If the changeup's not working, they have a curveball. The Bills, they're limited. And the Chiefs, they barely beat the Tennessee Titans last night. And I'm looking at the Chiefs. Josh Allen threw that ball 64, 65 times, if I'm not mistaken. They have no running game. 68 times, Jeff. They have no running game. And then he was the running game last night.
Last night was a weird game, right? Because I don't even think the Chiefs, and this is weird for Andy Reid because he does try to run the ball. I know the narrative is he doesn't, but he does try. Last night he didn't even try. He knew how bad the Titans secondary was and said, you know what, Pat, go throw it. Go throw it, man. Have a ball. And the Chiefs, I thought they were going to lose for a lot of that game last night. And then all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes decided to be Patrick Mahomes, be the best quarterback in football.
And that's what separates him from Josh Allen, in my opinion.
By the way, I know Ryan Tannehill will probably be back in a month. Boy, the Titans' pass offense is limited when he ain't in there. I mean, it's limited now. Think about that. They did not have. Okay, so when in Malik Willis's 2 starts, Tennessee, they have 2 catches from their wide receivers, and that was last week against the Texans. Robert Woods, 2 catches, 20. Their wide receivers did not have a catch last night. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown, if you guys saw on Twitter, he's laughing.
He said nobody's open.
Yeah, well, no one was open. He ain't wrong. He ain't telling you a lie.
Oh, man.
And the Titans would say, you know what, I got to say this, too, since you wanted to bring up the Commanders-Vikings game. And that was one of the games I watched yesterday. One of the reasons for this show, it's amazing we went 11 minutes. We didn't really talk about it yet, but I thought the Commanders blew it yesterday. I thought that was a game that they had in hand. Their defense was absolutely dominating this new-look Minnesota offense, and Taylor Heineke had a couple turnovers, and they just kind of, a couple bonehead plays, and they just kind of let it go. And they had an opportunity to be 5-4. And now they're facing a must-win game in Philadelphia next Monday night. And if they lose this game, I'm not going to say they're done, but they are virtually done. They needed to split between Minnesota and Philadelphia, and they had that win. And they could have done the Eagles a huge favor, by the way, because if they would have beat Minnesota, the Eagles would have 2 games up on Minnesota and Dallas for home field advantage in the NFC with beating them. And this is where I got to say the Eagles are far and away the best team in the NFC. You really want to know? Minnesota and Dallas are combined 13-3. 2 of their losses are to the Eagles.
It's a common denominator there, Jeff. And we have our guy Mike Gill behind the scenes. I can't wait to hear his take on this on this football weekend from Week 9. I can't wait to hear his perspective on this. But you're right, man. The Washington Commanders, they blew it. They had an opportunity. They were up 10 points in the 4th quarter, and they allowed 13 unanswered points by the Vikings. Right? I will say this about the Washington Commanders. Tyler Heineke inspires that team. He makes certain plays that just gives that team juice. And I'm not going to deny the effect he has on them, but he's limited. He is who he is, and that's okay, right? He's not, in my opinion, he's not a legitimate starter in this NFL. He's just not. He makes too many mistakes when it matters most. He's just limited. And I just feel like he's elevated by some of the parts around him, but he just has a mentality that makes these guys want to play for him that Carson Wentz doesn't have. He made this hell of a catch, this deep ball. I can't remember who caught it, but it was a hell of a catch. It was like triple coverage. I don't know how the guy came down with it, but Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, that's what it was.
The play where the ref ran into the Vikings defender and Samuel still made the catch.
Right. So you have to watch them because they're sparky and they're they play fast and they play inspired because of Tyler Heineke. Again, they're a limited team, but the Vikings, man. I just don't believe in them. They're another team that I feel like is fairly one-dimensional. If Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson aren't really cooking, I don't believe they can overcome those odds if Justin Jefferson has a bad day.
Hawkinson, though. He did have 9 catches yesterday. He did make an impact in that game.
He did. But 7 points on the opening drive or in the first quarter, then after that you sputter. Like what happened there? We gotta. That's something that has to be evaluated, right? But overall, though, this was a very, very fascinating week in the NFL. Upset city, and the Commanders, they are who they are, and I expect the Philadelphia Eagles to beat them next week. But just to drive home my final point, man, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, and like I said to you guys before, the reason for that is because they're the most versatile. They have more than one pitch to go to if things don't go right. They have more than one punch to go through if things don't go right. The Bills, very Josh Allen centric. If he's not cooking, they are not working. 1-score games, they're 2-7. That can't happen. They don't have a reliable running game. They're not steady. Chiefs, they don't have a reliable running game. It's not steady. Very Patrick Mahomes centric, but Patrick Mahomes has this clutch gene that separates him from Josh Allen. He can elevate at the perfect moment. And Josh Allen, I think he's still trying to discover that gene. We've seen it here and there. But, again, a hell of a haymaker. Don't get caught with it. The Bills have a hell of a haymaker, but if that haymaker misses, or if it's not working, or if you can weather the storm of that haymaker, you can catch the Bills. And they're not as, in my opinion, they're not as dynamic as they seem. They're talented, they're really good, but we're comparing them to the best of the best, Jeff.
The Bills have a tough road ahead because of their division. Jets are 6-3. They beat them. The Dolphins are 6-3. They beat them.
Mm-hmm.
They got 2 games against the Patriots, who are 5-4, by the way. I don't think the Patriots are that great, but they're 5-4. 5-4 is 5-4. I wanted to touch base on this too, because I think the AFC is open.
Very.
Who represents them at the halfway point? And Baltimore hasn't played yet, because I think Baltimore's still going to be in this conversation. Who represents them in the Super Bowl right now?
Man,
it's tough.
I want to say the Chiefs. I want to say the Chiefs.
I want to say the Chiefs. I really do. They have an easy schedule the rest of the way.
The Bills are missing 2 key components when it comes to winning those playoff games. That's the steady running game and the bad weather. And it's fascinating because they're in Buffalo. And you would think a team in Buffalo would have a very steady running game. You would think they would invest in that because of the weather. But you can't allow your quarterback, Josh Allen, to lead your team in rushing for 2 seasons in a row. It just can't happen, man. It can't.
This is one team I'm really and I was high on them at the beginning of the year. I don't know if they can represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Watch out for the Dolphins, though. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, they're electric.
I mean, they're a really good football team. And they have a dynamic offense. Their defense isn't great. But when you got Tua Tagovailoa just hitting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle all the time, their run game is significantly improved because of what Mike McDaniel and that zone run scheme he brings. I know they can't stop anybody, but no one's stopping them either. Wouldn't that be a fun Super Bowl, though, if it was Eagles-Dolphins?
Oh, that would be awesome. And it's so funny, not even to be a homer, I think Jalen Hurts gets his revenge in that matchup if that was the case.
I'll tell you what, the state of Alabama would just shut down for 2 weeks.
Oh, man. That'd be a hell of a game, Jeff.
Oh, by the way, did you see my tweet last night about who's leading the league?
No.
2 is 1, Hurts is 2.
Wow. Nick Saban is he's drinking his milk and cookies, man. He's having a good time watching that.
That tells me people don't know what they're talking about when it comes to judging quarterbacks. They think they do. A lot of people like to be experts, but I keep telling people there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this league, and I thought Tua and Jalen Hurts were 2 of them. So I don't know. I also defended Geno Smith last year. Keep that in mind.
Oh, man. On that note, Jeff, let's hit this break, man. You guys are locked in on Good Morning NFC East. He's Jeff Kerr. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II, the super producer. Next up, we have our guy, Mike Gill from 97.3 The Sports Bash, ESPN in Jersey. You guys, you don't want to miss this.